Mikel, happy with the comeback? Unhappy with the outcome? What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously unhappy with the result. We made it very difficult again for ourselves, but mistakes are a part of football, and I must say that the way the team reacted, the individual reacted, that I love our players more than ever, because you make a mistake, you make another mistake, and then it's complicated when you are really fighting for what we are fighting, to turn that around and change the energy and have the courage to play like the one we have played. It's incredible. We were on the way back. We conceded again a very sloppy goal on the set play, and the whole sequence previously is just not good enough. But then at the end, we should have won the game. We created enough chances, enough opportunities, and it didn't happen. So at the end, we are disappointed for sure.
What do you think the problem was tonight?
Well, starting the game like we did, giving the ball away and conceding a goal straight away, making it really difficult, giving the ball away and conceding another one in one pass. But you can concede 3 goals in this league. You concede 3 goals, and the way we concede them in a really sloppy way is extremely difficult to win matches. We still scored 3 and probably should have scored 5 or 6, but it wasn't enough to win.
Is that when it shows what's at stake? The fact you've got such a young team as well, and also what is at stake in these last games?
Yeah, but this young team reacts in a way that it's incredible, against the odds, and when it's really under pressure and you are against the wall, the way they continue to play, the chances that they created, the spirit that they have, the way they tried, it's just a joy to watch. But I feel a lot for them today, because especially some individuals are hurting. But the message has been clear that I love them.
What else, apart from supporting them, what else did you say to them in the dressing room after that? It must be difficult.
Well, of course it's difficult, because they are down and they are more willing than anybody can imagine to win it, and you can see that spirit and that fight, and they are really disappointed in the dressing room. But it's clear that we have to do, especially defensively, things better, not to concede 3 goals the way we have done.
How strong was your message that we are still in this, we're still fighting, this is still very much in our hands?
For sure it is. That hasn't changed. Obviously the task now is even bigger, but the first thing that we have to do is we have to click it. We have to click and count the mistakes and do all the simple things and the basic things much better, and after that you will win games again, because we deserve to win the games if it's not for those moments.
It's obviously a huge game at the Etihad now, an even bigger one for you, but how concerned are you about your form going into the game, or has it almost become like a final in itself?
No, it's not a final, because it's still 6 games to go and still enough points to be played. But obviously the concern is just turning around this moment, especially some players, if they are in doubt, and get those doubts away and put the mindset, prepare the game well, and went to Manchester to win the game.
How hard is that, though, for you as a coach? Because a lot of those players who've now got those doubts in their mind, they've not been through this before.
Yeah, but in football you go through moments when you make errors, or you are not in a good moment, and you have to come away from that, and they reacted throughout the game. It's not that they bottle the game and they say, okay, it's nothing to do with me, and they hide. I haven't seen anybody hiding. The opposite, they were really willing to do more and more.
No matter where you end up, it's been a fantastic season already with these young players. For it to be an amazing one, do you agree you've got to win next Wednesday now?
Yes, I agree.
And how confident you are, or are you, that you can lift your players, you can rally, get back to what you were early in the season, go there and win?
Very confident, because I see again today is a good example of the level that they can show, how capable they are to play against a very difficult opponent in different contexts, in a difficult context, in a great way, and just chance after chance after chance, and the spirit is incredible, and we have to try to do it again.
Thanks. The game, you were 3-1 down late on, you've got a point out of it, but because of the bigger picture, is the overall feeling one of being deflated, being unhappy?
Well, I think like you guys can see, a lot of things is going on now, obviously we don't want to come here and talk negative, because we are very positive. The season we are doing is amazing. Obviously, it's a Premier League. It's not easy. It's tough. You compete against tough teams like Southampton. They come, try to, defend good, and then counter-attack and kill us. Unlucky we consider early goal. That's kill our plan. you know. But I think a part of this, we play really good. We respond really good with the crowd. Everyone come with us, you know. I think we are doing now is the difficult moment, you know. We are putting ourselves in some difficult momentos in the game, but it's now time to stick together till the end. We still have a lot of things to do in the season, and then it's nothing over. It's still 5 points clear, and obviously they have 2 games in the hand. And then if we want to be champions, we have to go there and win the game. That's all.
What is the cause of these difficult moments that you are giving to yourself? The mistakes in the first half. Is it the pressure of the situation you're in?
I don't think it's depression or something like that, like people wants to talk. Obviously, we are, I think, the youngest team in the league. Not putting excuses, but that is a big thing to think about. Obviously, we have no experience of champions. And then, obviously, sometimes if we want to try, if we want to play good like we was playing from the start of the season, we have to try. And sometimes we do right, sometimes we do wrong. You know, we make a mistake. Everyone here can make a mistakes. You know, that's why it's so important to stick together. And then now it's time to recovery. You know, recovery. And rest our minds, our body, and then keep fighting.
How difficult is it going to be for you now? That's 3 points from a possible 9, the last 3 games. To go to the Etihad, realistically, you've got to win. It's in your hands. If you win, and you win your remaining games, you'll be champions. But how do you get back to what you were early in the season? Young, brave, playing, flowing football. How do you get back to that before next Wednesday?
Like I said, you know, we are having a great season. It's not nothing over. You know, it's like I said, it's a lot of things can happen from now on till end of the season, last game. Everything can happen. Obviously, we are not happy with the last 3 games. You know, we dropped points. That's the truth. We know this, and no one have to tell us because we are men here, and we understand we drop a little bit our level or I don't know our focus in the game, and then like I said, this is Premier League. It's so difficult to win this competition. You know, you can see the last 10 years, big clubs didn't win, so it's so difficult.
You are united, though. You're definitely a group of close players as well. You're one of the more experienced players, one of the few. Only you, Alexander Zinchenko, have won the title in this country. What can you say to help your young colleagues in terms of that trip next week, that game at the Etihad? You know better than anybody how good they are and how good they are right now.
They are good, you know, not just now, but in the past years, you know, the last years they are doing so good. Like I said, you know, I understand everyone talking about me and Zinchenko because we won the league and that and this, but I think everyone's here playing in rude scenarios, you know, rude stadiums and so good stadium pressure, you know, everyone's played that and everyone's have experience to go there and play. You know, like I said, they are doing so well. They keep doing so well. If you look, of course, what they did in the last years is amazing. So we are here fighting with a big team and so quality team. So we have to be proud of ourselves. And like I say, I'm not here to talking about like, oh, it's over. No, other side, because we still there, we still fighting, we'll fight until the end.
Looks for both Arsenal and for Manchester City. You can see there 5 points is the difference. City got those 2 games in hand and they are in all competitions. Going for a treble, Manchester City. They've got a semi-final in the FA Cup against Sheffield United this weekend. Those 2 games against Real Madrid. So actually, if they get to the final of the FA Cup and the Champions League, Farah, they could play 13 games. Arsenal, it's simple. They've got to go and win at the Etihad Stadium on Wednesday. And then after that, they've just got those remaining games. Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton is a horrible run, isn't it? Nottingham Forest scrapping for everything. And Wolves, you'd imagine by the last day of the season, on the beach. But will it go down to the last day, do you think?
I actually thought when I saw the running the fixtures, I actually thought this period when Arsenal play Manchester City, those 4 games with Chelsea, Newcastle and Brighton would be the tough part of the season for Arsenal and would really see the character and what they had. But that blip's come before then. So I wasn't expecting them to go into these next 4 games having come off the back of 3 draws against, 2 teams that you would have said on paper they should have beat both of those, West Ham and Southampton this evening. So I think those next 4 games are crucial for Arsenal and the outcome of their season.
How does it pan out,
Hefty,
Don?
hefty fixture list, isn't it, for City? I looked at the last 2 games there, 2 away games.
In the last week, and they've just got Wolves, Arsenal.
Brentford, one of the hardest places to go. We were in your face. And then Brighton, and Pep said the most dangerous team across Europe. Arsenal, I don't think Arsenal beat Newcastle at St James's. I felt that a month ago when I seen the 6 fixtures that Arsenal had in April. Really tough fixtures. So City would be delighted that they've got 2 games in hand, and obviously you look forward to the big game. That is just.
Can they win on Wednesday,
monumental.
Arsenal, at the Etihad?
I mean, they can. It's the Premier League and it's Arsenal are a good football club, but I just think momentum now, the way City have been playing, the way they've been battering teams really, Haaland's banging the goal. Wherever you look with Man City, they've got match winners all over the park. Grealish has been sensational, I think, for the last 6 months. I'd put City big favourites now to win the league.
James Ward-Prowse, after an incredible game of football at the Emirates, and just looking at their fixtures, Farah, they still do play Bournemouth. They've got Nottingham Forest. They play the teams around them. All right, they've got some tricky games in there in Brighton and Liverpool and Newcastle away, but they've given themselves a hell of a chance, haven't they? And probably not even more so with the point, but just with the performance and the belief.
I think Lee's mentioned it. I've watched Southampton myself a few times this season, and they do perform well. It's just they don't seem to get over the line in terms of getting those points on the board. But you mentioned there they've got Bournemouth in their next game, so they're at home to Bournemouth on Thursday night. So that's a big game for them, a big 6-pointer you'd say at this time of the season. And then they've got Forest and Fulham, so teams that they potentially could pick points up from. So they do have a good run, a couple of tough teams within that. But they've showed some fighting spirit tonight to go to Arsenal and perform the way they did. They've shown there's some spirit within that team that potentially could get them out of that relegation.
Yeah, and in terms then of the title run, and when it comes to Arsenal and Manchester City fixtures, this is what it looks like. We know that they meet on Wednesday, but look at those games that Manchester City still have to play. Semi-finals against Real Madrid. They could have a Champions League final and an FA Cup final, 13 games potentially, and Arsenal just have those 7 games. Very quickly, Lee, will that go in Arsenal's favour, the fewer games?
I'm just going to say it's not over yet. That's all I'm going to say, because there's some tricky games there and a lot of games for City, but Wednesday is pivotal, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be another couple of twists.
Yeah.
I'd rather not give any predictions. They've been terribly wrong from the start to near the end of the season. I haven't got nothing right yet. So certainly my predictions have been very poor.
Well, there we go. It has been a hell of a night at the Emirates, and it should be a cracker as well at the Etihad Wednesday. See you then. Southampton 3, the 7 matches to come. Obviously, Manchester City not playing this weekend because they're at Wembley to take on Brighton in the to take on Sheffield United in the FA Cup semi-final. Brighton playing Manchester United, and it means that the bottom of the table looks like this for Southampton. Could have been so much better, couldn't it? They could have been off the bottom for the first time in a long, long time. But they stay rooted, but are now just a point behind Leicester, 3 points from safety. The top 5 points clear. Arsenal now of Manchester City, but City have those 2 games in hand, and they meet at Wednesday night on the 26th at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester United and Newcastle making up those Champions League places. We will have all the reaction to come for you from the Emirates after that 6-goal thriller. Studio with me as well. You've had a few more minutes, Lee, to digest what's happened there. What will Mikel Arteta be saying now? Because again, it feels like a really important team talk, doesn't it?
It's very difficult after a game like that for him to calm his emotions down, and it'd be easy for him to run off with it and go, say too much after a game. I think his coaches, if he's got, he's an inexperienced manager himself. We have to remember that he's only been in the job 5 minutes, and all of a sudden we're expecting him to behave in the perfect way, like an experienced manager like Wenger would or Ferguson, and so he's got to kind of just calm himself down a bit before he talks to his players. But he'll be certainly saying, look, it's still in our hands. If we get a win against City and we win our games, and he'll be saying that. He'll be saying to him, whether the players believe it or not, he'll be saying City are not. They're not going to win every game. They might slip up. We've just slipped up 3 games on the trot. They'll look back at these 3 draws and go that they've just had and go 2 of them. The Liverpool game, they'd have took a draw before the game, but the other 2 against West Ham being 2-0 up there, and then bringing this game back to 3-3, they'll think we should have got over the line. But they give the ball away too much tonight. As simple as that. And that's a nerves thing. That's simple, the occasion, because they haven't given the ball away all season, really, apart from the last couple of games.
It could have been so much worse. That's got to be the positive, Farrell, right? Because they found themselves 3-0 down to that Chileta Sarr header in the second half, 3-1 down. And, to come back and rescue a point. But again, sort of mistakes, and they'll be looking at this one, they're analysing what went wrong.
Yeah, they'll have to analyse because there was a lot of mistakes. And as Lee mentioned, there was a lot of nerves within this young Arsenal team. I think based on the outcome of the game, I think they have to take a lot of positives from it. If they would have gone away with nothing from this game, it would have been even more disappointing, even more of a lift Arteta would have had to give his players to bounce back for Wednesday night, which is a huge game, which everybody's been speaking about for numerous amount of weeks now. So I think the fact that they showed that character to get those 2 goals back in that period of time towards the end of the game, I think they have lots of positives to take from that. They'll be tired. Their emotions, as Lee mentioned, they will be all over the place. It was a roller coaster of emotions today, for the manager and the players. And I think, maybe silence from the manager in terms of going in there would probably be better, and reassess it overnight, and they go back in, they have a day off probably tomorrow, and then they go back in over the weekend and start again and focusing on Manchester City. Yeah,
and look, all the goals came from mistakes, which was so unlike Arsenal this season, Lee, and the third one as well.
It's nerves. You do things on the pitch like this. Partey gets the ball, he takes one touch too many, they lose it. The fight's there's no problem about that, but it's little things like this. You give the corner away, you don't get in front of the defender, the attacker there. Holding just lets him get in front, and then he flicks it to the far post. Look at Zinchenko. He's got his man, he's looking at him, he's got his arm in the air, he's looking straight at him, and then goes to sleep. He's not a brilliant defender, Zinchenko. He's brilliant on the ball. Positionally, with the ball, Arsenal use him to their strength, but without the ball, we saw he gave the goal away against Liverpool. He let Trent get past him, and there again, he just got to be alive. You have to be alive being a defender, whether you play in midfield or not. That's your job. Keep the ball out the net.
Yeah. And in defensive set plays, that back post position that Zinchenko's in, it's such an important position. You have to be switched on. He looked organised. He was in a set position. That 1 second of switching off, and it leads to a goal. But it's such an important position in a set piece to defend.
We've seen Arsenal fight to the end on numerous occasions this season. The Aston Villa game obviously springs to mind, Bournemouth as well. And they're not down until it's over. And Martin Odegaard leading from the front with his captain's armband on.
Yeah, I mean, here he is now. He picks it up and he's got one thing in his mind. As soon as he's on his left foot, you've got half a chance of a brilliant cross, or he'll hit a target. And his feet are so quick, and there's men behind the ball, but there's nothing he can do about that. It just dips nice and early in front of the goalkeeper, and it's in the. And then all of a sudden, you're thinking, could they possibly get back into this game? And the way that the crowd got behind him at this point, the energy was with the Arsenal team, Farah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And Odegaard, he was key in that in terms of the energy that he brought. He led, as a captain, and obviously here you can see Saka coming up with the equaliser. But he led in his second half with his performance, and there's different types of leaders and characters within the game, and he certainly, for me, has demonstrated how to be a captain in terms of his performances, because he took the game by the scruff of the neck in the second half when they went 3-1 down and really tried to make things happen for this Arsenal team. This from the keeper here fumbles it into a good area for Arsenal and a poor area for Southampton, but it's Saka that comes up with the goods there and gets them on.
When that goes in, we were all, that's it, they're going to. Well, I certainly was. I was like,
they've got the stoppage at that point, yeah.
And then when that 8 minutes came up, it was like, well, here we go. We've definitely got the impetus now. Southampton looked out for the count, but they couldn't quite get it over the line.
Yeah, still had chances, didn't they? Yeah. Trossard and Nelson right to the end. And you were believing, you were thinking that they could have had another couple of goals in those 8 minutes.
I did believe, yeah. You didn't want me to believe, but I did believe, and I was expecting the crowd to almost draw it into the net. Everybody was out of the seats, and also the thing is that the emotional strength of a crowd at this point, you can gain so much as a player in those last few minutes. We've seen, the great United sides of the past, and some of the Arsenal sides that I played in go to the 90th minute and beyond and get, last-minute winners, and it just wouldn't go in for them.
Just felt like for Jesus, especially tonight, it just wouldn't sit there for him to have that one chance. He had half chances, the ball was sitting there, but he didn't quite fall for him this evening. As you mentioned, we've seen a few chances here and a half chance here from Nelson, but it just wouldn't go in for Arsenal. It just wouldn't go in. It's one of those days, and as I say, I think they're lucky to come out with a draw, and they'll be pleased with that draw, for sure.
That's a massive point for Southampton, by the way. And they'll be looking at that now. They'll be in the dressing room disappointed And obviously they would have took a point before the game, but they'll be looking at that going, we put absolutely everything into that. And they changed the tactics a little bit, and I think Matt Holland said in commentary about them sitting back a little bit too much and inviting Arsenal on. You kind of not got much choice when you're going against a team that's going to try and win the league and they're 3-1 down. They're going to come at you. So you have to kind of get back towards your own goal a little bit. But they just let it slip at the end. But they'll still a brilliant point for them.
And the run that Arsenal have got, Lee, we talked to me before the game, but, you know, after City, they got Chelsea, they got Newcastle, they got Brighton. And I'm not trying to make your evening any worse, but the last Arsenal win at the Etihad was a long time ago. I mean, you were nearly playing, it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, but the thing is, all those fixtures were set last June. They knew who they had to play. Yeah. They've had a brilliant season so far. You can't get away with not playing anybody. You have to play everybody twice. Yeah. So there's parts of the season where you have an easy run and they pick points up then. This is the tough bit now, and this is how you win a title.
Is your belief wavering, though, now after that tonight, after 3 consecutive games? Be honest.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. If you were a betting person, which I'm not, you would say it's City's title all day long. But they've still got that game on Wednesday, and this team, if they can get over the emotional tiredness, the physical tiredness won't bother you at this time in the season. You're tired from Christmas onwards, you know. But the emotional side of it, they can get over that. They can beat City. We know that. We know they've got the ability. But you would expect City to have a little bit too much for him. Yeah. But listen, we didn't expect that tonight, did we?
Yeah, and that's probably the difference, isn't it, between a point and losing the game, though, isn't it? Which we shall see, because I know you're going to be there on Wednesday night, Lee. But we can be joined now by the Southampton captain, James Ward-Prowse, who's at the Emirates for us. James, I don't know if you heard Lee Dixon talking there about Southampton dressing room. Incredible performance, an amazing Premier League game of football. But does it feel like a defeat for you?
A little bit, yeah. I think we would have taken the point before the game for sure. But, you know, to come here and to play the way we did with bravery on the front foot, we were aggressive. We took the game to Arsenal. You could definitely feel the atmosphere, and there's obviously a good feeling around the crowd in the stadium. And, you know, to silence that, you know, felt good. But we knew they'd come on strong. You know, they're at the top of the table for a reason. And, you know, we had to dig in deep towards the end.
And there was an important part of James Ward-Prowse's body. I'm not sure what part it was, but you got a bit on that Reece Nelson effort right at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, there are a few blocks going in there. I think when you're up against a team like Arsenal and they're chasing the game, obviously you got to put your body on the line, and you got to, you know, put everything towards winning the game. And thankfully managed to get a good block on that one.
What does that do to your dressing room? I mean, I don't mean just at the Emirates, in general, you know, in this relegation battle, because you could have been off the bottom of the table for the first time in a long, long time, James, but it must give you so much belief that you can go to the leaders and put in a performance like that.
Yeah, I think to come here and do that's great, but I think the challenge now is to take that forward into the rest of the season. You know, there's no point coming here. You know, the motivation might be easy because you're against the league leaders, but the challenge is now for the rest of the season to play against every team like that, and I'm sure if we do, we'll give ourselves a good chance of staying in the league.
James, it's Lee Dixon. Is that been the biggest frustration for you this season, the fact that you can turn out performances like that? I did the commentary for the Leicester game, and you played ever so well against Leicester, and I came away from that saying, if they keep playing like this, they'll stay up. And is that the frustration for you throughout the season?
Yeah, it has been. You know, we all know that football and sport is all about the ups and downs, and, you know, sort of coasting through those difficult times. But, you know, it's easy to play against the bigger teams. There's that motivation and that feeling. But then, you know, for us, it's about beating the teams around us and making sure that we turn out every week and not deliver just the performance levels, but the attitude and the application against Arsenal was terrific. And that's what we need going forward now.
3 points, James. It's doable.
Yeah, you know, that point could be huge come into the season. There's still a lot of football to be played, and, you know, it's not over by any stretch. So a lot of points to be played for, and we'll make sure we give ourselves a good chance.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, James,
Cheers,
top man.
guys.
Really appreciate you speaking to us.